Did you tell anybody in the River?
No, I'm gonna post it right now. Did you see that weird blip on Coin Market Cap everyone was talking about?
No, let's talk about it. I haven't really caught up on some of this news. I want to know what was going on with that OKX futures too. We can talk about it.
Yeah, if not, we can save some of those topics for the podcast too. But no, a few like half an hour ago, Coin Market Cap showed everything at like 9,000 plus percent. It's kind of funny. I think there's a few images in it, but
So let's see. Let me move this chat over. Does the colors come through right? Do you see how this is all faded, all
yeah,
weird?
it's a little strange.
Maybe it's because I'm sharing the full desktop. Let me try to.
Doesn't look like that on your screen, does it? Just
Well, it does on mine.
that looks fine.
Let me refresh. Something's up with the YouTube, I think.
Hmm. Well, that's not too big of a deal, I don't think.
Well, I'll just try to share the screens individually then. Hmm.
We'll let a few more people join in here. But what have you been trading?
Oh, what's up, Em? Hey, Kyle. Okay, I got the YouTube chat up on the other side now. I'm good. After payrolls here, I was just kind of. I'll show everybody. Before the number, for payroll number, okay. There's a lot of multitasking here. I started selling first up here around this 116 level in the euro. And we came off. I covered some, and then my game plan that I put in the room was that if we got any pop on the euro on the number, I was going to sell into it. So I was like shorting and covering. So inside of this candle, there's a lot of little moves like this. So I would sell some, cover some back, sell some, cover some back. And then right when we got up near the high, and then it's pretty typical of payrolls, like, or even after ECB or something, you get 30, 45 minutes in, and then the market will completely reverse. And it's a little bit of a function of the bigger players are just sitting and watching, and then the market kind of resumes a trend. So my media is just going back and forth for 30 minutes or shorting this, and they said watch this whole thing reverse, and the dollar came all the way back. So then we covered and then started reshorting this bounce again. Probably done for the day. But so there's a couple rounds on the euro. Didn't do much with dollar lira. Have some core positions there. Euro versus the pound. There was a bunch of. This is a 5 minute chart. I mean, I was selling up here, covering, shorting, covering, shorting, covering. I just keep selling rallies on this pair. I mean, I really like core short up here. So my average right now is right here, but I've taken a lot of risk off. I mean, I was much shorter intraday up at these levels, which always brings my average up. But then I cover a lot of that, and so I'm just hanging out. I'm going to be shorting this again next week. I think cable is pretty much due for a bounce. If that's the case, maybe we get another bigger picture move on euro pound back this way. We'll see. But I've liked this zone on euro versus the pound for a while. We've been talking about.
Mm-hmm. What about crypto? I saw a few trades you posted this morning, but I didn't get a chance to
Yeah.
get
Let me
it.
switch back. Crypto. Well, I did that kind of rundown yesterday on the overall markets, and then BTC is getting back towards some levels where we're basically back at the bottom of the intermediate term risk range. So let's see. We actually should look at the cycles because I think we have a turning point this weekend, actually, or we might have already had it here this week. But big picture, we talked about at the beginning of the week that the daily cycle was pretty high, and that was the right call. So taking some profits up here last week, the week before, made sense. And then we've just had to sit through this daily cycle back down. And if you kind of just, if we stretch this out a little bit more, you can see that this ebb and flow has been pretty, I mean, there's been a good rhythm to this market. I mean, here we had a little bit of a rally, then we get a sell-off. Then we rally, then we get a sell-off. Then we had a big rally on this wave up, and now another pullback. But this is a buying opportunity because this is a pretty strong move, right? Right after the inverse head and shoulders that we put in, right around our 6,000 buy zone. So this was a kind of a game changer, and I think it's maybe the start of another leg up, and that's just the way our model plays it. So this strength right here creates a wall. We've been buying into this pullback. I think there's a good chance now with this cycle we have at least another 3 to 5 day rally back up. Mm-hmm. So either we kind of hold here, maybe we drift a little bit lower to kind of retest the 6,800. And I'll show you on the 4 hour. This whole zone, I'm just going to get even more aggressive, get more long. That's kind of the game plan. So I think we're close to an intermediate term bottom, most likely. I mean, you got pi down here, 7,000. Again, 6,800 is where we broke out from. This real money candle right here is pretty solid. So I think it's going to be tough for the bears to knock all that down.
Mm-hmm. All right. I got to head out, but you keep doing your thing. Okay, I think you got a few questions in the chat room already.
So how are you using the slow stochastic as indicators? Yeah, I mean, so our model, I mean, I have a 10-hour course, so I teach our entire model. And it's never one factor. It's never one thing in markets, right? The media, or I guess a poor trader, or kind of old Wall Street, always wants to boil it down to one thing, that why is the market going up? They always try to anchor on like one or two things, but it's never one thing, right? And so the same thing in our trading, it's never just one indicator. It's not three indicators. You got to kind of blend everything together, both have an understanding of time, which is the cyclical part, and then also an understanding of price. But timing, actually, the time piece actually matters more. So the stochastic is great because it's an oscillator. It's an oscillator, right? And so oscillation, if you understand some of the science behind an oscillation in physics, is an equation of motion. So the way energy travels is in waveform, whether it be the light from the sun travels in light waves, even gravity moves in waves. So the way energy travels is wave formation, and that's a motion. And when you study equations of motion, the oscillation is one of the biggest things. So we don't treat the stochastic like overbought and oversold. What I care about is it's more of a rhythm of time. So this oscillator at this what do you call it? At these parameters usually captures a pretty good rhythm here for the typical time frames that we like to trade. So the daily and the 4 hour, if you time your trades up with daily and the 4 hour, you're usually going to do much better than if you just blindly chasing price. Anyway, that's kind of the short explanation. And so I'll do the same thing with the 1 minute or the 5 minute chart. I could give you an example here on the euro right now. So like I would I shorted the euro here a little bit on this move back up. And so this is a 5-minute chart, but I really like to time my day trades as far as like when I want to start a day trade and be more aggressive around the 15-minute and 30-minute cycles. So you can see here on the way back up on this rally here, I was waiting, slowly selling a little bit, but largely waiting for this 15-minute cycle. And as soon as the 15-minute cycle got to the top, I mean, that was the top of your move there. If you started your trade here, this was a nice cycle. So when you start to realize that you start to incorporate the fourth dimension into your trading, your ability to work your size and time your when you want to start a trade and when you need to start really kind of exiting the majority of it, you do it around the cycles, your consistency goes way up. Hey, Trevor. That's a great question. I know it's been something that's been bothering me. I'm trying to figure it out. I think the easiest solution is going to be, because believe it or not, guys, like for Forex, there's only really two main brokers in the US, which is Gain Capital, which is Forex.com, and then Owanda. And so because of the first in, first out rules, it's much easier to trade when you don't have that restriction, because like I could be course short dragon and then flip and get day trade short and cover and make money and then still be in my core position. And you can't do that when you only are supposed to trade in one direction or first in, first out. I mean, it's essentially the same, but the freer way to trade is without the FIFO. And so that's a problem for the US guys. So I think what I'm going to do is set up another account and just strictly trade that account with that in mind, the first in, first out. And I'll try to just mirror. I mean, I'll still be the same decision process. I just probably won't go two different ways. I mean, like on Euro Kiwi, I mean, I've had a pretty aggressive core position, but you guys can see it's like it's pretty low. It's pretty out of the pretty out of the money right now because we had a big rally back. But then I've been swing trading along, which is my core is right here. And this moves up and down, but I was long here at the beginning of the week and came out and made some money. And so if we start to break this low, then I'm actually going to add to my core shorts, and that brings up this average. And then that's how you work. You work the equity and you trade around a core position. But when you're only doing that first in, first out, it's still the same adding and reducing. It's still the same directional work. It's just I'm closing different lots, so it causes a problem for the US guys. So I'm going to try to simplify that. Maybe I can figure that out next week, because I know there's a lot of because we're making a lot of money. I mean, I hate that the US has to be, so anal about everything and these rules. I mean, even the EU is ridiculous. I don't know if you guys know, they just came out and told people that leverage can go from, it used to be 200 to 1, 400 to 1 in FX. Then they brought it down to like 50 to 1 or 100 to 1. And now they're even if you're trading the majors, you can only trade 30 to 1. So they basically, they're just cutting the legs out from traders for no reason other than, the EU can't manage themselves and they're probably terrified of a big risk off move that's going to wipe out the banks even more. I don't know. It's just draconian. So what's actually we found out this week about that though is if you're like outside the US guys and you're following this trade signal, so some of you might be like, what the hell is he talking about? But we have started doing this trade signal service through, it's called Simple Trader. Let me see if I can log in 1 second here. Where is it? So they took down, so they're making European clients take their leverage down, which is such bullshit. So what's nice about if you're following our copycat service here, where I'm trading, and you can basically set your account up and copycat my trading relative to your account size. And since I'm designated professional at this firm, that I still can maintain the larger leverage, which is 100 to 1. So if you're copycatting my trading, they just came back to us this week and said any of the clients that are under the copycat, since I'm the one that's basically executing, they can still have 100 to 1 leverage, which is huge. So like here's an example of one of I was going to try to show you one of my Canadian clients. He signed up with me a couple weeks ago. He put in like 50 Canadian dollars. He's already made 10 grand just me just basically trading for him. But that's a big deal. I mean, you know, if I did 2 grand a day and you only can trade on 30 to 1 leverage, you're basically going to have, what is that? 3 times less the profit. So it's pretty big that you can get around some of that leverage by doing the copycat via this service. Yeah, it's not like crypto where you just can. Forex is regulated, you know, so it's not like you just get a VPN and go around it. I mean, you're gonna get yourself in a lot of trouble come tax season if you did that. There's really strict rules that if you're in the U.S., you gotta open up with U.S. brokers and all kinds of. There's jurisdictions in crypto. There's no jurisdiction, so you can't really play that VPN game. Just gonna see if I could find the. Oh, I won't mess with that now. You guys want to look at some more crypto here? I added to some names that if you guys are on our crypto team, you know what names I bought today. But I want to look at the cycles here on Bitcoin. Let's see. I think there's a really good chance we're going to get a higher low here today, tomorrow, setting us up for a rally next week. All right, so here's some of the cycle work that I've done on BTC via the GDAX chart. I think the most important, and it looks like the way the cycle, like again, I just showed you guys kind of the rhythm that I'm talking about. Like it doesn't matter, it's anything. But when you find a security that starts to sync up with a pattern of time, you can kind of see when the market's ready to make its move. And it kind of looks like that Bitcoin is following this 8.6 month wave. So we made the high in January, and here we are coming out of this cycle now, and we'll see if we actually start to see a bigger picture rally in the back half of this year. As you can see, this blue line, that's the longer term wave. So we've been talking about maybe the cycle doesn't turn longer term until August, September, and might be shaking up shaping up that way. So now some of these smaller waves, it's been interesting too. Let's see if I can. We had another turning point this weekend. So the 4th, so that's tomorrow. So I think you got a really good chance you're going to get a higher low at this turning point here this weekend. From a trend perspective, but just the power that we had up here, and then we pulled right back to the 30-day. That's called a 30 halt in our model. So my traders know to look for that. So we'll see. I mean, if we fail with this turning point over the weekend, then we should expect us to cycle back down into the middle of August and probably retest these 6,000 lows. But if we get like a bottoming tail here, bullish engulfing, we get what we call a swing line setup right here. And I think we're going to rally into this next turning point, which is the 19th. And then it was interesting that we made a lower high with this wave here, pretty much exactly. We failed right at pi. I don't know if you guys see that. Price failed at pi here, or pi line, and the 200, right with this cycle high. But that was also a new high relative to all these lower highs that we were making. So this was a lower high we made with this turn. This was a lower high we made with this turn. This was a lower high we made with this turn. This was a lower high we made with the turn. So we were making a series of lower highs with each cycle turning point. And then the fact that on this cycle turn, the major one, we were already at new highs relative to here. That kind of sets the stage for a cycle of higher highs and higher lows into this time frame. So I think that would make sense. If we make a higher low here, and then we put in this pattern now of higher highs and higher lows, there's a good chance that trend will continue into this time frame. That's just kind of how the cycles work out. You kind of want to see what's trending, and then when that trend breaks with a pretty decent cycle, that's just more confirmation that you've had a change in trend for this next wave. So I don't know. I think the market's bullish. I mean, what's holding us back for some serious momentum is just these long-term lower highs we haven't snapped yet. So here was our high. So we just keep marching down these big picture lower highs. But now this is clearly the new pivot here. What is that level? 8,000, a little bit, 8,500. If we can get above there, then that's a brand new longer term pattern where we're going to actually have new higher highs for the first time since January. There's a lot going on the chart there. Let me clear this off. You were in crypto from last May? I mean, I think it's always a great time to be in crypto for sure. We just, the market just needed time to rest, but we're still in a long-term bull market. It's a little bit easier to see if I go to a log scale. But I've been writing about this, that the market hasn't done anything wrong. Just people are used to crypto going up every week. But this is just nothing but a pattern of higher lows. So the market held where it needed to hold, which we've been saying 5,000 to 6,000 zone. And then all we need to see happen, you can see those pivots that I was just talking about. We need to just start making, this creates what we call a swing line. So we're close. We're just still consolidating. But once you start to make higher highs, then you're going to see the long-term momentum come back. You got to break this line out. And so we're not quite ready. I'm just kind of shaping up more like the back half of this year. But the intermediate term looks good. The weekly cycle turned up. I think we may have a monthly cycle now. Yeah. So I remember back when we were making the highs in January, we talked about, guys, this at some point you're going to get a correction because the cycle just cannot hang out up here. And so this is the first time I've seen the monthly cycle come all the way down. So you don't want to be a buyer here. You want to be a buyer here long term. So you're much closer to the bottom for longer term move. Like if you're starting your position up here, most of those people have stopped out, or guess what? When we get back to that level, they're going to sell out and get back to break even, and then they're going to miss out on the new highs. But this is the point in time to be accumulating. So yeah, that's the long-winded answer to that question. Henry, what was genius, buddy? What news are you guys talking about? I've tried to catch up on the news, but I try not to read into the headlines all day. It's just too time consuming. Alec was telling me a little bit about the Coinbase news, and then I've always been skeptical of these so-called other futures exchanges that just come out of nowhere, and I don't even really trust that they actually have real futures contracts and they're taking delivery. And I mean, this CBOE and CME, to me, those are the only two established reputable exchanges to start trading Bitcoin. These other ones like OKX or whatever, I doubt they were. I don't even know the full story, but I doubt they were even truly functioning as a real futures firm does. I really doubt it. They're just probably trying to be an exchange and acting like they're offering futures, and sounds like they couldn't make good. I'm gonna have to look into it more. Intercontinental Exchange. Is that the right ICE we're talking about? What's the symbol for ICE? I used to trade that one. Is it ICE? Yeah, we're getting a little bit of a boost here. There's a good chance we held here, guys. I was trying to keep a little bit of ammo for a little bit lower. I'm going to lighten up on a little bit of futures if we get close to 7,700 again, like 6,800 or sorry, 7,800 or 7,680, I think is my offer right now, just in front of 7,700. Are you talking about these guys, Henry? ICE, Intercontinental Exchange? Look at that stock, huh? I'm gonna have to look into it, guys. I didn't even read the story yet, so. But when we're talking about Bitcoin, so I told you about on the downside where I like it. We just filled this gap from this morning. So we're already through the gap resistance. If you guys can see. So you had a little bit of resistance here, right? This was the prior support. So you broke you've already cleared that. There's a little bit here. You can watch at the bands, but I think I'm going to lighten up a little bit on what I bought down here, just in front of 7,700. I was offering on this day. I said, you know what, I'll sell a little bit if we get to 7,700. I put in some offers and I forgot to make them good till canceled. So they got canceled at the end of the session. And then sure enough, we tagged 7,700 exactly and then failed. So that would have been nice if I would have came out of those and I could have bought them back here or today even. And then if I would have sold here and I would have bought here, I'd be coming out of some right now again. And so that's just trading the ebb and flow. But I think there's resistance here. And then there's really nothing until there was some support here. That will be resistance. It's also right where the 200 is. So you got resistance at 7,700 and then this 7,900 area, and then nothing until back up here, which is 8,200. So this is resistance. First resistance, R1, this would be R2. This would be R3. I mean, if you bought this morning low with the cycle, you're supposed to be taking some off now. But I didn't add anything this morning, so I'm just going to sit tight for a little bit higher before I let anything go. Okay, I don't know that backed either. That's a weird. It's a weird name. You guys want to look at some alts real quick? I got about another 10, 15 minutes and I got to hop. Let's just run through some of these alts here. I mean, I like Ethereum. Let's do the majors real quick. So we did Bitcoin. I think Ether's got a really good chance here of holding. This has kind of been its long-term support down here. Right? So you want to think about trading in terms of zones, guys, and not so crazy about level specific. I see some of these amateurs and some of these goofballs that will have a long-term trend down, and then like just because we break the low by like we break this low at like 420 by 2 points, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna crash to the next level, and then sure enough it just stops and then rallies all the way back on them. When you get into these zones and you start treating the chart like areas, like a chain link fence, like you can bump up against the chain link fence, it doesn't break, or you can lean on the ropes in a boxing ring. That's what you got to treat the markets like that, not so level specific. If you're trying to short the market down here because it's technically it's broken this low, so you're going to short right here. Same thing like here, like, oh, okay, we broke here, so I'm going to start shorting. Great, you just shorted the low. And then you can't, when you get into these big picture zones, you can't get aggressively short in the hole. Just treat this as areas. So there's a good chance we're going to hold this 3 3/4, 400 area in Ether. I like it's at support again versus even Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been the strongest lately. So it was a good spot. I haven't bought any Litecoin. I've only added to Ethereum. But Litecoin's on support also. We got to get above 95 before we have any kind of serious momentum. Bitcoin Cash. Okay, yeah, we'll look at Neo. Aeon, I'm really surprised it hasn't been able to rally with this Bitcoin rally. I don't know if that's a negative sign or it's just nobody really knows the project that well. Maybe a little bit of both. We'll get to that one in a second. Bitcoin Cash looks good here too. I mean, the market's low in its cycle. It's back on support. Again, this is a zone, right? So I think that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, Aeon versus BTC. And now BTC's gotten stronger, so that's making this move look a little bit worse than it really is. Let's see if we can price it in dollars or Tether. So not as pronounced. But yeah, I mean, I added here. And I haven't signaled a buy again. I probably will nibble again, actually, though. We're really deep below. Like, you don't even have a 200 period moving average on this chart because it's so new. This coin's so new. But you're getting a bottoming tail here at the end of a long move down. This is a good buying opportunity. I'm probably going to signal a buy to my team on this. Not an aggressive buy, but there's a place to be, working into a position down here. And then we'll get more aggressive once it starts making higher lows and higher highs. But I like it. I'm going to add. It's just gotten smoked. This might be one of the biggest winners once the market gets going. It kind of reminds me of what Cardano did. Let's look at that next. Back at support, cycle's very low. All right. If you guys are on the crypto team, you know what I think about these levels down here. Dash. Has Nano been getting smoked? Dash cycle is pretty low. I mean, I like so much stuff down here. Dash looks good. Monero looks good. I'm curious. Let's see what Ethereum Classic did on that last push up. I kind of have a theory that when the market gets overbought, you should short Ethereum Classic versus your Ethereum longs. So last place to do that was up at 18. So there's 17% on the downside. Kind of like a synthetic pairs trade that way. Let's see what else. Neo. Not much to say on the weekly chart of Neo other than we just had such a big retracement that it's at levels where, I mean, I like the weekly cycle is really low. Let's see if we have a monthly cycle. Do I ever buy alts because I think they have a long-term future? Oh, yeah, no, definitely long-term. And like we're talking about that Aeon project. I mean, those guys have serious money behind them. They have I don't even know how big the team is, probably 40, 50 people, offices in different parts of the world. They're trying to do all the, they're trying to tackle a lot of these problems between chains. Vinny, I'm over a European firm that set up as a professional. But I'm trading some proprietary capital of theirs too, so it's different. It's not like it's just different. We don't even have a monthly cycle on Neo. I was thinking it would be pretty low. The daily, I think we're close to a bottom, guys. We're same thing as Ethereum. All this stuff this is the old base. This is the old base, and then we had this monster move. And then we're back to that same area now. But you guys hold on 1 second. All right, sorry about that. I think we're probably going to get a low here. This is something I talk about with my traders. I teach them there's a process to when the market's bottoming. It's usually a 3-part process, but the market has to first stop making lower lows, which it did here. So that's the first sign that maybe the market's bottoming. But you need higher highs. So all you have is lower highs. So the market's still in a bearish formation. But if we double bottom down here, there's a good chance that that's maybe what we call a phase 2 higher low. And then we got to start seeing some higher highs. And then you can confirm a new uptrend. But there's a good chance that we can hold in here. I mean, if you buy it, you know where your risk is, either below this low or you could use this low. But you have a small amount of risk and you have a lot of upside, right? So that's what people don't understand about the timing. Everybody wants to chase the price up here, and then everybody's fearful down here. If you were long, I mean, we were long ant shares in here, and we were buying all this and taking profits into a lot of this, and then buying some back and taking some off. But when you have a run from here to here, what's more risky, guys? Buying this or buying the lower price down here? You know, this is, for some reason, it's just the psychology of trading. Everybody, because of it's going up, people perceive that as less risky. But then everybody's fearful and nervous down here. This is where you should be salivating and getting exciting and getting more aggressive. This is low. This is high. This is low. This is high. It's just a big cycle, really. So I think there's a good chance you buy 28 and Neo's around for the long haul. You're going to be at new highs. I like EOS down here. Henry, I like EOS down here. Even if you look at it versus BTC, it looks good. So I was telling people to sell up here at the high. Now you can start buying back in. And these guys, I know some people don't like the project for philosophical reasons, centralized, decentralized, blah, 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 year-long ICO. These guys have so much money behind them, they're not going anywhere. So I'd just trade it. We were buyers in this zone. We're back getting to some of those same levels now. But listen, guys, I got to actually hop here. I'm just let you know, we had a really great week this week trading. So this is what's possible when you learn the model. I haven't seen anybody else with the MyFX book putting up these kind of numbers. Everything I see on Forex signals, these guys take like four trades a week, if that. And they have some of these guys have hundreds of subscribers, and they've only made like $1,000 or $2,000 on the year. So we only really started trading, focusing on proving this and doing this after crypto kind of rolled over. So we're just getting started on this. But I mean, I've probably made the most money on this entire site. But you guys can do the same thing. It's just a matter of learning the process and learning how to understand the cycles and then how to work your position. But the long route is to go try to figure out on your own. It took me probably 5 years of frustration and ups and downs and wanted to quit a lot of times. Or you can come in now and we have a course. I mean, I did 10,000 euros on the week. It's like close to 12, 13,000 US dollars. Pretty good start to the month. But if you guys go to the easiest way to get involved on that is go to Block Edge Capital. And under education. So this is our chat room. It doesn't cost anything to come in there. And then inside of that chat room, we have a private chat that's $99 a month. That's our crypto team. That's where we're talking about, when we're issuing signals on all different coins and talking about the market and sentiment and positioning and mining and all that good stuff. But then this is our course. So I put my 10 years of institutional experience into this course. So you guys can learn from my mistakes and kind of stand on my shoulders, and you can grow quicker. And if this is something you want to do, but everybody that's learned this model, I mean, everybody's always really happy with the results and changes their trading around. Some people are really struggling. They have negative P&L. Some people are they have some success, but they haven't really broken through to that consistency. But once they start to get it, I mean, it's amazing the results I've got traders quit their jobs, making 6 figures. I've had guys applying this to crypto, even in a down market, paying off hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans. So pretty proud of that. And then this team here. This is my guys that are really serious. So these are traders that want to be full-time. They're probably going to trade for life. So if you join this team, I mean, I'll be trading till the day I die. So if you sign up to be a part of this group, I mean, you're basically with me for life. So we trade together 2 times a week. It's probably the cheapest thing out there for the value. I mean, I paid $12,000 to learn Forex, and I only learned a couple different strategies and the basics of the market. But I took a couple of those concepts, I applied it to the fixed income business I was doing, and then we made millions from it. So I knew I could invest in $12,000 to learn more about the Forex market, and that was pretty early in my career, so I was still kind of learning a lot technically and stuff. But that's paid itself back many, many, many times over. So, but this is great because you can trade together. You get to see what it looks like in real time when I'm inside of trades, when we're stopping and reversing, how I'm working my size, talking to you about how to view the market before the move even happens. And then a lot of time the exact thing plays out. Because these are all just the same patterns repeating over and over in a fractal manner. And so when you know how to recognize them, then the next step is how do you time it and how do you work your size and the risk management part of it and the psychology of trading. So anyway, guys, come join us though. And if some of you are interested in the Forex signals, you just come into the chat here and you can ask me about it. We can get you situated. But I'm at the top of the month already over here. So we'll see. We're just going to keep grinding away. But this is cool, guys. You get to participate. I don't know a better passive investment. You get to keep all the profits, and it's only $150 a month. And you could take advantage of me trading pretty much all day, all night. I did 250 trades this week. Oh. But anyway, what are you guys doing this weekend? It's pretty nice here in South Florida. I got to do some work on the house. Might go play some golf. Trevor, it depends, man. I mean, to learn to trade, you could do outside of maybe your work hours, but this is what's great about this copycat service is this is completely passive. I mean, man, I'm so bad with Chrome. I'm trying to find the bookmarks. So this is one of my guys. He's in Canada. He just started the service. So this is all passive money to him. He's made 11 Canadian dollars, 11,000, almost 12,000 Canadian dollars since July 4th. So 23%. That's all passive, guys. That's $150 a month. That doesn't exist anywhere. So that's a great way for you to kind of participate. But that's me giving you a fish. It's not you learning how to fish. So if you want to learn to trade, I mean, I'm going to teach you 80% of what it takes to be consistent, 90% in that course. You can do that on demand at night. But that was another reason I like Forex, because you can kind of trade it around. This market's open 24/7, so you can trade around a lot of times your work schedule, how bad do you want it? I mean, I've got guys that wanted to be free, get away from their day jobs. So they get up, trade London with me at 3 a.m, then go to their job at 9. We'd get 3 hours of trading in. And then some of those guys left their jobs. But you got to put in the work, though. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to be a full-time trader in 6 months. I mean, that's just crazy to be full-time. I mean, it takes years to learn any trade. This is one of the hardest things to do in the world. I mean, you're competing with some of the brightest people out there on Wall Street. You're competing with big mega banks and firms that have billions and billions of dollars in buying power. But it's just like anything else. You gotta, you're not going to start having $30,000 and $50,000 months by treating it like a hobby. Yeah, the copycat service is amazing. It does it all. I'm really impressed. Like between MetaTrader 4, it's really very seamless. You set up a virtual private server and it stays connected to my computer and to the software. And it's been so fluid and seamless. I would have thought that was available even 5 years ago, that you could trade and somebody else could be executing lightning fast, the same entries and exits, and then everything's tracked. Like just these stats alone and the technology is amazing to track all this stuff. We were at 93% win rate this week. You don't find that consistency anywhere. But yeah, Em, you can just message me. Come into our chat room there, and if you got questions, I'll have my partners Redick and Alec hook you up if you want. But yeah, guys. Anyway, we'll have a great weekend. We'll do some more live stuff next week. I think I'm gonna do podcast tomorrow, probably with the usual suspects, Alec and Brennan. We're gonna get into some of the news, and I think there's some big shifts going on in the overall markets that we've got to kind of be wary that growth is slowing, even though everybody wants to project out that GDP is going to be 5% next quarter. That's very linear thinking. We just had one of the longest consecutive runs of growth accelerating since the only other time is 1991. We had 8 quarters or 11 quarters of accelerating growth. So the probability is that you're going to slow. Doesn't mean you're going to collapse. It just means that you're going to slow. So I think you're going to catch a lot of people off sides the back half of this year. So I don't know, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. But, all right, guys, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll talk to you.